And welcome back for Bolt Action Battle Report Part 2, Turns 3 through 5. The U.S. versus the Germans, 1944, somewhere in France. We are using the Bolt Action rule set, and this is the map of the general area. The objective for the Americans is to take the three buildings there that make up the village. For the Germans, it's basically hold off the Americans from their accomplishing their victory objectives. Well, for turn three, if you're wondering about turns one and two, you have to check out the previous video. But for turn three, I figured Boondock Saints scene of William Defoe saying there was a firefight, and indeed there was. And as you can see, this is the end of the Germans' positioning at turn three, and you can see that they are holding two of the three buildings quite solidly, I might add. Again, you see the Americans in the upper left-hand corner for the woods. You can see the Germans here are firmly ensconced in this building here. And again, nice view shot there. And for the Americans for turn three, well, things didn't go so well for the squad that went into the one building in turn two. And you may notice that there was a squad that was shifted from the woods over to the stone wall. The idea is to reinforce the building. We have the two other squads in the woods there, basically providing support, and for the squad on the right to keep moving forward. Okay, and there's a nice little close-up there. And yeah, this squad, it just took some serious casualties there with the firing. In bolt action, you declare what you're firing. You look at how many dice each weapon uses. You roll to hit, and then you roll to see if the person takes casualties or not. So for turn three summary, U.S. casualties, there was like about 4 German casualties, about 1. I forgot to put those numbers in there. So now we move on to turn four, and here are the positions for the Germans at turn four. As you can see, a bunch of things have happened there. They haven't advanced. They're holding, and they're doing quite a good job of it. You can see that the Germans are there in the building. And you may notice, oh, wait, there was movement. You had the German squad behind the stone building move up. There were casualties to be dealt out with, as the original German squad in this building took a lot of fire. A lot of guys didn't make it, but they did pass their morale check. So they are still in the fight with 2 remaining squad members left. In the woods, it is just a firefight between the Americans and the Germans. There off to the left-hand side of the village. And for turn four, you can see this is where the Americans are. And you can see, holy cow, the squad in the building there in the upper left-hand corner is, wow, it's just melted away practically. There's only one guy left. Right. You're correct. They took a lot of casualties that turn, and despite that, it's still hanging on. Okay, and nice view there, the solid line of fire from the Americans. And this is the last lone squad member with his Tommy gun facing off against, well, hordes of Germans in comparison. And the view across the street from the woods, where the Germans are firmly planted in that building. You see 2 guys in the upstairs building. That's what's left of the first squad. Now the second squad is there, and they're laying down the fire as well. In the woods, more casualties were dealt with on both sides. Yeah, it was not going to be an easy thing. But for this turn, 9 U.S. casualties, and the Germans suffered 5 casualties as a result. This is just getting very bloody. Now the question is, can the Americans keep up with the rate of casualties? Because both sides are roughly even in terms of the numbers of men. Well, we'll see what happens with turn 5. So, turn 5, oof, it got worse. It got worse for the Americans. German marksmanship, those guys deserve a medal this day, because this last turn here, things did not go well for the Americans whatsoever. As you can see, they lost the last guy in the squad in that building due to fire from the guys across the street. You had the other guys firing as well, and in the building to the right, in the center over here. And well, now you got two more Americans who are taken out here. These guys had to take a morale check. They are still in the fight. Over here, the firefight erupted, and now there's one lone American left. He too passed his morale check, but they have a lot of pins. Pins, think of them as stress points. Every time a squad gets hit, you add a pin marker to it. What makes the pin markers so bad is if you give your squad an order, you have to roll to see if they will carry out the order. And the pin markers, the number of pins, that's the modifier that goes against you when you roll to see if they're willing to do this. In this case, both sides, they were regulars. So they needed a basic roll number of 9. But when you have a pin of like 3, for example, you need to roll a 6 or less on 2 regular 6-sided dice in order to carry out the order. If you fail, then the order is not carried out. If you roll double 6s, then that's something else. I'm not going to worry about it because it didn't happen in this game. But you can look on the German side here, and they totally have the building. There's a couple of pins on the squad downstairs. The squad upstairs was fine. They rallied themselves out of their pins. They were able to shrug it off. Okay. The Germans in the woods, they opened up. There was one light machine gun left and the squad leader. And here these guys, they fire. The downstairs guys fired. The upstairs guys rallied. And then these guys, well, they just fired as well. They kept doing what they were supposed to do. For the American side, yeah, it did not look pretty. As you can see, there are figures prone. They're on the ground. They're out of the game. Whether we say if they're killed or they're wounded or they ran away, it doesn't matter. They are out of action in terms of bolt action for the game. So here we go. Lost another guy. Again, that incredible firepower from the street. But remember, woods do not give the same kind of cover as a stone building will. Stone buildings tend to be better at stopping bullets than woods, for example. Okay, the last American of the ill-fated squad to go into this building fell. That's just it. There seems to be an ancients battle going on in the back there. Maybe perhaps a future report. The firefight in the woods. You know, it's funny how the Americans opened up and all that the Americans had left was the BAR, 2 submachine gun guys. The Germans had 1 light machine gun, and the squad leader became the assistant to load up the machine gun, and the Americans lost. There's only 1 soldier left standing out of that original squad. Still made the morale check, still in the game. So the Term 5 summary, the U.S. took 5 casualties. The Germans took 1 casualty. And you know what? At this point, the Americans, they do have 1 intact squad left. But their other squads we've got 1 squad eliminated. We've got 2 squads that are down to 1 or 2 men each. The Germans, they have not lost a single squad. They had 1 squad cut down, 2 squads cut down to 2 guys per squad. And the other 2 squads the Germans had, they didn't lose anybody. So right now, who's got the advantage? I would say it would be the Germans. But at this point, the American platoon commander has said, we can't do this today. We're going to have to come back another day, maybe bring back some heavier equipment to do the job. But when they come back to the village, the Germans will be long gone because, remember, the Germans needed to deny it to the Americans long enough for their friends to pull back and form a new battle line. So thus ends the narrative of this particular bolt action battle report. Hey, feel free to leave comments below. Any ideas on how to improve? Comments, constructive criticisms, always welcome. And I'll catch you back for another time.